Morning, Grunkle Tim here. When I was in Colorado for my nephew Caden's wedding, I got asked to take a video of my garden. So, let's do that. And then I'll read you some stories. Sorry it's been a while, but I've been traveling a lot. I was in Birmingham, then I was in Albuquerque, and then I was in Denver, and now I just came home. It's been about a month I've been on the road, and I'm happy to be back into it. I got some banger stories for you. Should be fun. So let's go ahead and take a look around and see what we got here. Start with the general panoramic of the garden, blocked by a sunflower because they are everywhere and they are a plague. One of my favorite things over here is this big old cherry tree. This came with the property. This was about the only thing that's left on the property that came with it. And I'm guessing it's probably somewhere around 75 to 100 years old, and it still produces a lot of cherries. It's really cool because it's a Morello cherry tree, which is what they make maraschino cherries with. So I made a bunch this year, but since I don't live in Maraschino, Italy, I call them Wallachino cherries. You should have some. They're delicious. They're packed in their own brandy. Yep, that's right. I ferment them, and then I purify the water that they came off of, and then I turn that into some brandy that I pack the cherries with. Pretty cool stuff. And we'll come on over here. We'll start kind of on this corner over here. This is the creek that we water off of, and this is part of what was set up by the Italians that settled the area. They broke up the Walla Walla River into a little series of little creeks that go throughout the town, and then they break off into smaller waterways. And this is what a lot of the old farmers used to farm off of. And this was an old orchard once upon a time, which is why all the fruit trees that are still here are here. Some of those plum trees, and we'll go talk about those in a minute. We'll come back around and look at them. But those plum trees, we don't water, we don't spray, we don't do anything, and they just grow like crazy. Pretty cool stuff. Over here is where we had our onions. You can see there's weeds there now. I was gone for a month, and well, weeds are gonna weed. There's one thing you can't do, so I got some work to do ahead of me. Here's a cherry tree that we started from seed. I think it might be another plague I've created. And then we come over here, and these are all of our purple cabbages. And so I got to be doing some sauerkraut fermenting here real soon because they're starting to get too big. And this one right here has already popped a little bit. So that one's got to be one I'm going to have to get into. Then we got our tomatoes here, and these are all trellised up on a pretty nifty little trellis that I invented out of leftover conduit and some hangers that I bought at the Builder's Resupply, which is an awesome place. And then down here we got some different kinds of tomatoes hanging out in here. I like this guy here. This guy's probably a 3 or 4 pounder. Got some nice little black Cherokees in there, but basically it's a right now 7-foot tall wall of tomatoes. Probably got about 100 pounds I'm going to need to be picking this weekend if I had to guess. So we'll start picking and processing and getting going, but take a walk through here and see what else we got going on. Oh, that's a nice healthy one. That's a big boy. Got another couple big ones. Got some Corps de Booze, or Corps de Bois, I think is how you say it. Oh, look at this cat-faced monster. That thing's silly. But looks like we've got a lot of the, either these are Cherokee purples or black crims coming on. We got a lot of those this year, and I'm going to have my work cut out for me this weekend, that's for sure. Then we come over here and turn around, and this giant wall of foliage is bean arch. And so let's walk down the bean arch and take a look at what we got in here and see if we got any beans on yet. Oh yeah, there we go. These are borlotti beans. See if I can get a shot of that there. And they get really pretty, and they make a really big bean. And they are really good green when they're young and tender, kind of like this one right here. But then they fill out really nice, and they make a nice shelling bean, like a really thick and dense pinto bean. And then this year I planted a lot of flowers. We'll talk about some of those because one of them I think is going to turn into a plague. But we've got some marigolds and zinnias and some morning glories planted in here. So this is bean arch number 1. And then some of those flowers we planted this year because I thought it'd be fun to beautify the garden for the first time ever. Not ever, but every year I plant some marigolds. But this year I wanted to bring some more stuff for the pollinators. And it's been really effective. The number of bees that we've got in our yard is crazy. And I'll talk about next year we're going to start up an apiary. So this is bean arch number 1. If you take a look up under it, it's really cool to go in here. And you can see that there's a chair in here because my daughter likes to hang out here and read books. You know, I probably would too if I was a kid. And you can see we got some beans hanging down right there. So you can just sit there and pick all the beans you want. We usually end up with about 30 to 40 pounds of dried beans every year. And we pick them all, and then we dry them out, and then we sit around in the wintertime shelling them while we're just relaxing. And it's kind of nice to do. It's a really neat way to know that you're getting some good protein and fiber in your diet. These are the eggplants, and they're planted a little dense. We got a tomatillo that I let go because that's another plague that I planted. And then this is the plague that I think I'm going to end up with big time this year. And this is the morning glories that are taking over a sunflower. So it's two plagues somehow taking on each other, and I find it absolutely amusing. But if you just look up at any of these, the number of bees that we've got flying around is absolutely crazy. So I think that's why we got to start looking at making sure we take care of our pollinators this next year. Got another bean arch right here. This one's a little bit smaller. I planted it a little later. Just because I had some extra cattle panel laying around, and why not? And you can't have too many beans. It's one thing that we always seem to go through every year. Then we come over here, we've got cauliflower that is coming in, and you see it's a little shaded here. And then back there is Merlin the cat. He is amazing because he is a mole hunting cat. It's not often you get that lucky, but he is a very, very special creature. Nectarine tree that has decided to split itself into pieces because I didn't thin it or prune it this year. But I think this is the last year we're going to have Mr. Nectarine tree. It's been probably not quite the right fit for our garden, so we'll try some other stuff next year. Back there is a Queen Anne cherry tree. Now that has been a great fit for our garden, and I do keep that one pruned and real tight. And that one produced really well for us this year. Probably got about 300 to 400 pounds of cherry, and I made vinegar out of it, fermented cherry balsamic vinegar. And so that's gonna, got about 20 gallons of that, which was pretty cool. This is kind of the general greens area, and plant a lot of lettuces and basils and other things. Right now it's ready to be turned over, so there's not a lot to look at right this second, but letting some of the lettuce go to bolt because this is the time of year I harvest seed. We've got about 4 nice sized blueberry plants that we get a lot off of. This one is obviously not a blueberry, it's a pinkberry. This is a pink lemonade. It's pretty neat, and it tastes like pink lemonade. They're really delicious. The marigolds have gone absolutely bonkers this year. Got some nasturtiums and a bunch of chard. Again, things that we like to feed the chickens. And then the nasturtiums are a really useful sort of aphid deterrent. So a natural way to co-plant to keep your garden in balance. We got some more blueberries here. And then this wall right here is, not only is it morning glories, which are going ludicrous, it's also my cucumber patch. Oh yeah, check this out. We had some lima beans that we had, and I just took them right out of the bag from the store and planted them, and they're growing, which I think is pretty cool. But inside of the morning glories, we also have some cucumbers, and I haven't been here in a week, so we've got some ridiculous sized cucumbers in here, but we don't eat them a whole lot, but our chickens sure seem to like them. So even though we grow way too many and you can't even give them away, the fact of the matter is that chickens are the greatest companion to a garden you could ever ask for. We've got our corn right here. It's probably about 12 feet tall, also getting pulled down by morning glories, but what the heck, it looks good. And then if you look at this right back here, it looks like there's a fence there. That's not a fence. That's an intentionally planted wall of corn and sunflowers, and that's to keep the squash explosion on the other side. And I'll show you what that's all about. This is another bed that we've got. This is kind of turning over too. We just planted a bunch of greens in it for the winter, did some chicories and things like that so the chickens have something to eat, but got some kales and some more cabbages in here. Good things that we can feed off to the chickens. Go buy the corn, and we come down here into squash explosion land. And the squash explosion has done what it's done. And the reason it's kind of crazy is this is where our chicken coop used to be. And so it's 4 inches deep of nothing but chicken manure and gravel, and boy did the squash love it. It goes nuts. Last year I think we grew about 1,500 pounds of squash. I'll bet you we're close to that this year once we get all this out of here. But it's a whole bunch of different kinds. This year I stuck to the things I really like to eat: buttercups, some acorns, and butternut squash. And whatever we don't eat, the girls will. We'll go say hi to the girls in a second. They're already talking. See, they want you to know you're here. We've got our pepper area. This is the hottest area of the garden. So this is where we grow our peppers. They have come on this year really strong. Been one of the best pepper years we've ever had. We got cherry bombs, we got Anaheims, we got pimentos, we got bells, we got big Jims, we got little Jims, we got shishitos. And then this is another wall of tomatoes that we've got. And you can see this kind of unique trellis system, but it seems to work pretty well. And come along here and let's see what we got down here. Oh, got something eating some maters down here, but these are some super sauce tomatoes my friend Mike Everly gave me. And we got some San Marzanos. Oh, girls, you're fine. Oh, here comes Onyx. Say hi, Onyx. That's Onyx. He's the dog. Hi, bud. You want to play? Yeah, go for it, bud. He's really helpful. They are the best chicken herders you could imagine. Then this, actually I need to back up probably to get this in frame. is one of the core foundations to what the apiary is going to be next year. This is a Japanese maple. It's one of the biggest Japanese maples I've ever seen. It's approximately 40 feet wide, and I'm not kidding. Japanese maples are wonderful because they're a really heavy pollen producer, and so that's a really good thing for pollinators too. And then this whole area back here that's kind of green, it looks like weeds. Well, some of it is. We reconverted it this year. We took out lawn and let the chickens peck it to the ground. Then we came out and planted crimson clover and yarrow to create sort of a turf, and then we've incorporated quite a bit of like little wildflower blends in here, and we got all sorts of fun things blooming in here all the time. And this next year will be a great place for the bees. So this is where we'll set up the beehives next year. And we've got some fun little, just go around and there's little fun little flowers everywhere, and the crimson clover is just kind of popping up. Some of the yarrows coming on, and again, this was just bare dirt this last year, and we're just trying to bring it back. And we planted a nice little horse chestnut this year, and here's another Japanese maple that we've got, and then this is a nice dogwood. So nice shaded area. It's quite a bit cooler over here. It's pretty surprising, probably 10 degrees cooler in this area than it is in the rest of the yard. Here's the girls, being the girls. Hi, girls. There's Mariah being Mariah, feeding the chickens. Say hi, Mariah.
Hello, Mariah.
Hi, Mariah. Hi, Zeus. Zeus is our other helper. He's out helping us out. Then we come over here. You see this little shaded area right here. Got a tarp up, and that's to protect our broccoli, because broccoli doesn't like it hot. But we got to get it started. For me, I've got to get it started early, and then we kind of try to keep it cut and keep it from bolting, and then we get kind of broccoli all winter. But we've still got some bolting going on. We're gonna have to be cutting and eating broccoli quite a bit this next week or so. And then these two rows right here are Brussels sprouts, and these don't look like much right now, but they'll get to be about 4 to 5 feet tall, and we'll strap them up to this cattle panel, and we'll be eating those in January or February, because, well, that's when you eat that kind of stuff. My shed, that was a recycled chicken coop, and that shed was a shed that I turned into a chicken coop, because that's what you do. Now pause off, and we'll go check out some other things. Then we'll start back up over here by the plum tree. And so this is one of our plum trees, and you can see that they're really loaded up. I'm sure we're probably going to grow over 1,000 pounds of plums this year. So there's only so much you can pack and can and dry. And so I end up fermenting quite a bit of it and turning it into wine. And then I usually purify that afterwards into a brandy, and I store that in barrels just in case you need something in the middle of winter. And if you ever need plums or ever want plums and you're nearby, give me a shout. Oh boy, do we have a lot. This is a back patio that I installed. Now, by the way, I bought this, it was just a piece of dirt. So this is all self-installed. Daughter's bike on the patio. So we put in a stone patio that's right by the creek. Got this beautiful elephant ear, and then just a bunch of little flowers and different things to kind of beautify it. Then the most embarrassing part of my yard is this right here, which is a grape that I have not sprayed, that is covered in leaf hoppers and all sorts of other fun things. I think it's something that came home on my shoe. I'm guessing it's a cab sav based on the leaf shape, but could be some mutant because it's from seed, so who knows. But again, more of those wonderful plums. And then just everything here just sort of explodes. So got some of the flowers here just growing along. And then we've got this beautiful hibiscus in the front yard, along with our Walla Walla Sweet flag that we're going to have to take down because their season just ended. Got some parsley over here, which is going to seed, which is yet another one of those plagues that I planted. And then got another hibiscus back there. And then over here, we've got a bunch of sage that needs to come out, yet another plague. And over here is a little pumpkin patch, and we planted our pumpkins up here because the previous couple of years, 2 years ago, we had a black walnut here. And black walnuts have a compound called juglone that's really nasty. And you can actually see sort of in the middle, there's some yellowing. That's where the juglone is. And we're trying to suck that out of the ground with pumpkins. And the pumpkins seem to be getting through it, but we got some real fun pumpkins coming on. Got some Cinderella pumpkins right there, flat ones. And then we got warty pumpkins and good old jack-o'-lanterns. And we grow our own Halloween decorations, which is the purpose of the really tall corn. View of that hibiscus. Then we'll come on around over here and take a look at another plague that we planted that is everywhere. A few years ago, we thought this herb was called shisho, and we were like, oh, that looks nice. Well, we planted it once, and it is now everywhere. Yet another thing that has taken over the yard. The fence that I built out of barrels That was a COVID thing from the school, and they tore it down, and I heard it was sitting outside in a pile, so I went and picked it up, and lo and behold, it was perfectly enough to frame out my front yard. So fun, leftover barrels and remanufactured stuff. I like to do that kind of thing. This is the driveway to our Airbnb, which people go stay up there, my old Toyota truck. And then as we come around, notice I got a sprinkler that must be out because I got some dry morning glories and some sad looking basil. So we'll get them fixed up, and look at how that's going to seed. I got some trimming to do. When you're gone for a month, you got things you got to work on. I have a little Japanese maple, hydrangeas that need to be deadheaded, roses that need to be deadheaded, and then look at this sage. But see, it's kind of crazy. It's like a plague, but then you get up close and you see all the pollinators that are on it, and you're like, wow. And we have such a broad diversity of bees up here. It's just something I am trying to cultivate and do my best to keep that population alive, which is why next year we're going to go ahead and get those bees going, that apiary going next year. Got some coreopsis that are also a plague. And then basil. I didn't plant this. This is all from seed last year. And, if there's one plague I don't mind having, it's basil. Dogwoods that I chopped to the ground, and yet they're 6 feet tall this year, so we'll have to chop those to the ground again. But at least they're green and pretty. And essentially, that, my friends, is my garden. And that's what keeps me out of jail. So this is the stuff that I do that keeps me from getting too crazy. And so let's take one last look around. I got one more thing I'd like to show you. So these are all the onions that we let bolt from last year. So we save all the onion seed, and then we'll start the starts, and we'll get those going. I just planted all the starts this year, and so they're kind of looks like blades of grass right this minute, and then we'll harvest all those and plant them and start all over again. So almost everything out here, I didn't buy a start. I didn't buy a seed. They're all just things that we've harvested over the years. So like, for instance, the corn, which is huge and great, actually that came from Colorado. It was some decorative corn that Mariah got at Ector's greenhouse when she worked there over 20 years ago. And we decided to plant some and see if it would grow. And it makes the most beautiful native corn, these really pretty purples and yellows and greens even. And we separate them all. We tend to nixtamalize it, which is how you make tamales, make masa harina. And then we make like different types of sopes and tortillas out of it. And so one last look through the garden. Coming over here, one bed, our leafy greens that are coming on, pepper zone, Japanese maple, corn. Then we pan around to the cucumbers and morning glory mess. That giant sunflower that is taken over, that's got to come out. Then we're going to have to start taking out some sunflowers, but that's fine. The chickens love to eat them, and it brings so many birds to the yard. And you'd think we'd have a bird problem with our vegetables and stuff, but they don't seem to mess with it too much. I think that's probably Merlin's fault. My office, which you can't even see. Then we got the bean arches, eggplants, more beans. Got the tomatoes hiding back there. It's fine. Those tomatoes are 8 feet tall, but they look tiny. That old cherry tree, and then the creek, and then my lawn that I'm slowly bringing back that kind of got dried out there. But anyway, that's the garden. That's what we do here. It's what keeps me from being bored. Anyhow, Grunkle Tim signing off. Love y'all. Have a beautiful day.